Akiharu Hino is a kind guy with a mean face who enrolls in a school for rich girls to train to become a butler. Watch him as he trips, stumbles, and gropes his way through this school of eccentric rich girls. So first, we're introduced to Hakureiryo Academy, a fancy elite school for rich girls that also trains butlers and maids. Basically, Hogwarts, but instead of magic, everyone just has too much money. Enter our boy Akiharu Hino, who's trying to start his new life here, and he immediately collides with Selnia Iori Flameheart, a girl whose drills for hair could legally be classified as weapons. They argue, she swings, they stumble, and Akiharu lands on top of her with his hand full of, well, let's call it evidence. She screams, he panics, and boom, first chase scene of the anime. This man is sprinting for his life like he owes everyone student loans. As he's running, he passes a girl in the courtyard who just faints. Instantly. No hesitation. This dude's presence is apparently a natural status effect. He hides in some bushes, crawls out, and accidentally gets a perfect upskirt view of token glasses girl, and just when you think it can't get worse, he sprints into another girl, who also faints, while two more watch and they faint too. This guy is hitting 100% crit rate on accidental fan service chaos. Akiharu escapes into the cafeteria, hides on the balcony, and waits for the coast to clear. He sneaks back inside, relieved, until he bumps into Sayori Shikikagami, spilling tea all over her top. And Sayori? She's the kind of airhead who thinks the natural solution is to just immediately strip in the cafeteria. Zero hesitation, alpha behavior. Then her little sister Sanai, a clumsy maid, trips her way over and lands right on Akiharu's face. Full butt-to-nose contact. This man needs hazard pay. He's really unlucky. Or should that be lucky? Akiharu tries to escape, but plot twist. Selnia returns at the worst possible time and thinks he's assaulted both sisters. And just like that, the chase arc continues. He rushes outside where he crashes into Tomomi Saikyo, landing on top of her. Again, hand on the boob. At this point, it's basically his signature move. Tomomi instantly recognizes him. They were childhood friends, but Akiharu doesn't recognize her. Probably because he's too busy trying not to die. The horde of girls chasing him catches up, pitchforks emotionally raised. But Tomomi defends him, calling him clumsy, not a criminal. Meanwhile, Akiharu is sweating bullets because he remembers Tomomi as the kid who bullied him relentlessly. And she looks way too happy about seeing him again. To make things worse, Tomomi tells the crowd an embarrassing story. How she once tricked him into telling the entire class that his dream was to become a bride. Yeah, no coming back from that one. Finally, the chaos settles down and Akiharu heads to his dorm. He walks in on his roommate Kaoru Daichi mid-clothes change. Kaoru reacts like someone who has something to hide, does a speedrun outfit switch in the bathroom, and introduces themselves coldly. Akiharu just slumps in defeat after the longest day of his life. Meanwhile, Selnia sits on her bed plotting revenge like a JRPG villain. And Tomomi, changing into her nightwear, smiles with the pure, sinister happiness of someone who's about to make Akiharu's life way more complicated. Selnia is soaking in the bath, hair all steamy and dramatic, plotting revenge like she's the final boss of a shampoo commercial. She's mumbling about how Akiharu dared to exist in proximity to her, and you can practically hear the vengeful theme music playing in her head. Girl is locked in. She's ready. She's cooking up a 12-course meal of payback. Meanwhile, Akiharu is in his dorm wrestling with his butler uniform like it's a cursed item. Buttons? He doesn't know her. Sleeves? Betrayed him. He's out here losing a 1 versus 1 to fabric. Daichi walks in, takes one look, and sighs the sigh of a man who's used to this level of chaos. He helps Akiharu get dressed like a tired mom prepping her kid for picture day. Cut to class. Akiharu steps in, and the whole room reacts like someone tracked mud onto a brand new white carpet. Everyone's whispering, staring, judging. And in the middle of all this is Tomomi, childhood friend turned agent of chaos. already plotting how to turn Akiharu's school life into a long-running prank show. Selnia is there too, shooting him a glare so intense it might legally count as assault. After class, Akiharu finally meets some of the other suffering men of this estrogen-dominated kingdom, Shingo and Mitsuru. They break the news. There are only a handful of dudes in the entire school. Akiharu processes this like a man realizing he just respawned in hard mode. Then Selnia swoops in and they immediately start arguing again while Tomomi watches from the sidelines like she bought front row tickets to the drama. In the cafeteria, Akiharu begins his learn to serve rich girls arc. But none of the girls want him anywhere near their food after yesterday's events. Enter Selnia, who announces she will graciously allow him to serve her and her friend Suiran Fo, aka Token Glasses Girl. Akiharu says no on instinct, then remembers he actually wants to graduate, so he caves. Selnia antagonizes him like it's a sport, and just when things are reaching peak irritation, Sanae shows up, trips, and baptizes Akiharu in steaming curry. Akiharu heads to the showers to avoid becoming curry-flavored for the rest of the day. Sanae arrives to apologize but immediately slips, because this girl is basically a walking hazard sign, and she falls right onto him. She panics, starts scrubbing his chest to help, and the situation goes full ecchi speedrun. And of course, Daichi and the principal walk in on them. The principal, who is very clearly fueled exclusively by adult visual novels, thinks this is the high art he enrolled for. Next class, the swimming pool. The butlers and maids have to hop in fully clothed to practice serving their masters in the water. Why, you may ask? The show's answer? Yes. Shingo is too busy staring at soaked uniforms clinging to maid bodies to learn anything. Tomomi and Selnia pop in to roast Akiharu like it's their daily cardio. We also meet Toichiro Kazamatsuri, a dude so in love with himself he probably gives his own reflections pep talks. Then the teacher hits the wave machine, because apparently they're training for river service, and chaos instantly erupts. Sanae gets swept away like a chicken nugget dropped in a rapid. Akiharu grabs her, trying to save her, but Selnia attempts to help by throwing a life ring directly into Akiharu's face. He goes down like a sack of bricks. He wakes up in the nurse's office with Tomomi sitting beside him like she's been waiting to deliver a punchline. She teases him for playing hero, acting all sweet in that "I will absolutely ruin your life later" way. Then she casually opens the door to reveal Selnia eavesdropping so hard she might as well have brought popcorn. We start off in the library, where tiny art gremlin Mimina Osawa is hiding out. Quick refresher on her deal: she's got a frail constitution, spends way too much time in hospitals, and because of that, she got really into drawing. She closes her sketchpad to leave, right as she bumps straight into our boy Akiharu. He tries to sneak a peek at her drawing, and she reacts like he has to read her diary, passwords, and tax returns. She just storms off in pure pint-sized fury. Cut to the hallway, where Tomomi is talking to Akiharu about partner cards, the golden tickets servants need for the service exam. Tomomi casually offers hers like it's no big deal. Akiharu reluctantly accepts, because when Tomomi offers help, you know there's fine print somewhere in demonic ink. Then Selnia walks in, ready to offer her card, but only if Akiharu begs, like full grovel. He tells her he already accepted Tomomi's card, and she takes psychic damage on the spot. She warns him he's gonna regret it. Tomomi gives the kind of grin villains make before pushing a big red button, and Akiharu has no idea he just signed away his life. Meanwhile, Mimina is in the courtyard, staring at her sketchpad like it personally offended her. Full artistic crisis mode. Then Toichiro appears, because of course he does, trying to get her to draw him. Mimina panics and sprints away like he's a tax collector. Back in class, Mitsuru explains to Akiharu that he's holding 3 partner cards now, but Daichi probably has more since the ladies love him. Meanwhile, Shingo is literally on his hands and knees begging Selnia for her card. She takes one look at his "I definitely have ulterior motives" face and bolts. He crawls after her, still on all fours. It's a lot. When the exam begins, Akiharu bursts into the room right at the last second. Then he gets the terrible news. Until 5 p.m., he has to serve his master, Tomomi, and she gets to grade him out of 5. Akiharu immediately drops to his knees because he knows exactly what this means. Tomomi says she's just kidding, but her face says absolutely not kidding. She already has a task lined up, and that task? Helping the Mina. We find her in the music room, staring at a piano like it holds the meaning of life. She's still stuck in her art funk. Akiharu tries asking what's wrong, but she denies everything and leaves. Naturally, he follows. Naturally, Tomomi and Selnya are spying like it's their part-time hobby. Mamina then finds a cat in the courtyard and finally starts drawing, until Akiharu shows up and scares it off. She is not amused. She orders him to catch the cat, and Akiharu gives chase like it's the final boss. He eventually catches it, and Mamina makes him sit with the cat on his lap so it won't run. But Akiharu loses focus for like 2 seconds. The cat escapes, and Mamina pouts with enough force to cause emotional damage. In the cafeteria, Akiharu serves her orange juice like the world's most exhausted butler. 3 girls arrive, immediately recognize him as the legendary, degenerate butler, and assume he's up to something scandalous. Before leaving, they remind Mamina that everyone is expecting her next masterpiece. And there's the slump explanation. On her way out, Mamina trips, sprains her ankle, and Akiharu takes her to the nurse's office, which, as always, has no nurse. Ever. He wraps her ankle and her injured finger, then carries her on his shoulders while they look for the cat again. Mamina opens up, explaining she started drawing because she spent so much time hospitalized. People eventually bought her art, and now she feels like she can't live up to expectations anymore. They run into the 3 girls again, who tell Akiharu to put her down because she is a precious art treasure and must dedicate her life to creating. Mamina looks crushed, but Akiharu fires back that her art is hers, not something for other people to demand. The girls panic and run. Finally, they find the cat again. Mamina finishes her drawing and falls asleep afterward. Akiharu and Tomomi carry her back to the dorms. Tomomi assures him he'll get a good score. He politely asks her and Selnya to stop stalking him. They do the world's worst poker faces. Next day, Tomomi shows him a magazine interview with Mamina. She gets asked where she likes to spend her time, and her answer? Anywhere, as long as there is a reliable boy with me. Tomomi tells him she's obviously talking about him. Akiharu refuses to believe it. But come on, my dude, she absolutely meant you. Akiharu's day starts off in peak ladies versus my sanity fashion when he opens a classroom door and boom, Aish Kadim, fully mid-change, full underwear, full panic. Now, Aish isn't just any girl. She's basically a walking embassy of super strict traditions. Her whole family runs on rules like, guy sees me undressed, guess we're married now. And the real wild card is her bodyguard Hedja, silent, deadly, and absolutely ready to end any man who breathes near her princess. So when she enters the room and sees Akiharu staring at Aish like a deer in headlights, yeah, he almost dies. Cut to Selnya taking her daily victory lap through the courtyard, where all the students praise her like she's sponsored by royalty. Tomomi strolls in too, casually adding her trademark smug energy. But their attention snaps over when Aish and Hedja walk by. With Akiharu? Our boy begs to be left alone, but Hedja immediately whips out a knife and presses it to his throat like it's a casual Monday. Everyone is confused. Akiharu is confused. Hedja is not confused. At lunch, Akiharu explains the disaster. Because he saw Aish in her underwear, tradition says he must marry her. Mamina jumps in, confirming Aisha's family rules are basically medieval RPG quest logic. Selnya and Tomomi are horrified in that we're pretending we don't care, but absolutely care way. Now we're back at the pool, because nothing says romantic crisis like a CPR lesson. Akiharu approaches a victim lying on the ground. And of course it's Aish, conveniently ready for some mouth-to-mouth bad boy energy. Hedja emerges from the pool like a vengeful mermaid, silently threatening him to get on with it. Shingo tries to jump in instead, and immediately gets pummeled with like 100 kickboards. Hedja does not miss. What follows is a montage of failure. Aish offers Akiharu a sweet homemade bento. Shingo tries it first. Boom! Instant knockout. The thing is loaded with enough sedatives to take out a full zoo exhibit. Hedja attempts a more direct approach. She lobs heavy objects off rooftops, trying to knock Akiharu unconscious. Classic romance. Shingo, again, ends up being the crash test dummy. This man suffers. Meanwhile, in the greenhouse, Selnia is complaining to Foe about all this chaos. Totally not jealous. Nope, not even a little. Tomomi joins in, and the two immediately start bickering like it's their hobby. Tomomi looks out the window and catches Akiharu being caught in a net and dragged into a tent like some kind of cartoon poacher scenario. Inside the tent, Aish serves tea. Akiharu apologizes for seeing her bare skin, but says this whole marriage thing is kinda extreme. He slams his hand down, knocks over a cup, and as they both reach to clean it up, their hands touch. Romantic tension spikes, until he notices Hedja looming behind him with her sword raised like she's judging him for existing. He immediately flees for his life. Later in the cafeteria, Selnia is sulking because the worthless commoner isn't around. Daichi explains Akiharu requested a leave of absence to avoid causing trouble. This somehow only annoys her more. Back in his dorm, Akiharu walks in on Daichi changing, again. Daichi accuses him of being some kind of nudity-seeking missile. Before they can argue further, Akiharu gets yoinked out the window like a kidnapped RPG protagonist. He wakes up in the nurse's office. No nurse, as usual. Aish is there, naked. Completely naked. No censor bars in sight. Meanwhile, Selnia, Tomomi, and Daichi are out searching for him like a scuffed Scooby-Doo team. Aish tries to crawl on top of Akiharu, and he's panicking but still manages to say that she shouldn't have to marry someone she doesn't truly love. And that's when she confesses she does love him. Except, surprise, it's Hedja. Using ventriloquism, with a script. She's literally reading lines like some kind of murdery stage actress. Hedja ties him up while Aish continues her, passionate approach. Selnia and Tomomi burst in to save him, and Tomomi reveals there's actually a loophole in the Kadim rules. Accidental exposure doesn't count. No marriage required. Hedja admits she already knew this, but kept quiet because Aish genuinely liked Akiharu, and she wanted to help her princess shoot her shot. This revelation absolutely rattles Selnia and Tomomi. Aish hugs Akiharu, whispers sweet little lines, using her actual voice this time, and she and Hedja depart with dramatic flair. On his way back to the dorms, Akiharu confronts Tomomi, saying she totally knew about that loophole from the start. And Tomomi? She gives that classic sly smile, neither confirming nor denying a thing. Alright, let's jump straight into the chaos. So first up, we get this flashback to the entrance ceremony, where the school basically pulled off a double winner moment. Tomomi and Selnia both aced the entrance exam, so they're crowned co-student representatives. And the second their eyes meet, you can practically hear the Mortal Kombat theme starting. That's basically the origin story of their rivalry. Two geniuses, one podium, zero chill. Back in the present, Selnia is in the cafeteria absolutely fuming after yet another showdown with Tomomi. She's so mad she's practically vibrating. She orders Akiharu to bring her Earl Grey like she's a queen demanding tribute. Akiharu shows up with the tea and a slice of chocolate cake. My man really thinks dessert is the universal solution to female rage. Honestly, not a terrible theory. Selnia asks if Tomomi was always that smart back when Akiharu knew her as a kid. He says, yeah, but it's because she's insanely competitive and the saltiest sore loser alive. Which checks out. Cut to the girl's annual physical, where Tomomi realizes, tragically, that when it comes to curves, she is, let's say, statistically disadvantaged. And Selnia is standing there like the final boss in the character select screen. Tomomi's jealousy is so loud it should get its own soundtrack. Now, she's in the cafeteria sulking, because in her mind, she just got defeated by Selnia's body. Akiharu walks in, and suddenly, he has to play emotional support butler again. He asks what she wants, and Tomomi basically threatens to unleash his childhood cringe lore on the entire school unless he magically guesses her order. Man's survival instincts kick in, and he returns with, you guessed it, Darjeeling and cake, again. Akiharu only has two strategies, tea and dessert. Honestly, respect. In class, the teacher announces the school's hot water is down, so naturally the students vote to use the hot spring instead. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we've officially reached the mandatory hot spring episode. You may now place your bingo chips. And of course, Shingo takes this as an opportunity for peak degeneracy and drags Akiharu with him to peep. While Shingo's out here scaling the wall like he's auditioning for Ninja Warrior, Akiharu turns around and boom, Saori is behind him. In her underwear. Again. At this point, I'm convinced she's allergic to clothing. Before Shingo can complete his perv quest, the teacher shows up and catches him mid-climb. Justice has been served. Back in the cafeteria, Akiharu is serving Tomomi and Selnya. He's about to deliver their dessert when Sanae, human disaster, stumbles by and spills boiling hot water all over Akiharu's ass. Tomomi finds this absolutely hysterical. Akiharu's butt? Not so much. Later that night, Tomomi and Selnya both head to the bathhouse for a late soak and end up getting locked inside. Akiharu shows up for his own bath, realizes the door's stuck, and Tomomi immediately yells that Selnya is in trouble. Does Akiharu think? Does he assess? Absolutely not. He charges in like a shonen protagonist and faceplants directly onto a very naked Selnya. Handful of boob, zero survival instinct. And of course, the teacher and Mitsuri arrive just in time to witness the entire incident. Next day, Tomomi and Selnya meet in the hallway, and Tomomi cannot resist teasing Selnya about last night's accidental fan service Olympics. They open the classroom door and find Akiharu on top of Saori, who is, shocker of the century, in her underwear. At this point, even the narrator, that's me, has questions. The teacher is just standing there taking pictures like she's documenting a rare wildlife sighting. Selnya has officially reached her limit and just walks off. Tomomi naturally finds the whole thing hilarious. Akiharu is doing his usual butler grind in the cafeteria, serving Selnya, who, by the way, is rocking her trademark hair drills like she's about to duel someone, not attend lunch. She casually drops that there's a big fancy ball coming up in a week for the master students. Akiharu, being Akiharu, says her drills are better for combat than dancing. Cut to class, where the teacher and the eccentric principal announce that the servant students will escort the masters to said ball. Cool, right? Not really, because the girls have to dress as dudes, and the guys, yep, full women's outfits. Classic principal move. Everyone is horrified, but Daichi is extra horrified, staring into the middle distance like her life is flashing before her eyes. That night we see Daichi writing in his diary, but plot twist. Yeah, she's actually a girl. Shocking to absolutely no one by this point. She explains her dad forced her to attend as a boy, but she didn't mind since she's a tomboy anyway. The real issue began when she became roommates with Akiharu, because nothing complicates your undercover mission like sharing a room with a clueless dude protagonist. Next morning, Akiharu, half asleep and running on one brain cell, wanders into the bathroom and catches Daichi changing. Her chest is wrapped up and he just doesn't process it. Zero damage taken, maximum plot convenience achieved. Then we had cooking class for the first time. The teacher basically says, if the chef dies, you're up, and puts them into teams. Akiharu ends up with Daichi and Sanae, which is already a recipe for destruction. Sanae is so clumsy that Akiharu designates her the team's spokesmodel, meaning, please don't touch anything sharp. Daichi glances at Sanae's chest. Pure envy. Meanwhile, Daichi herself is carrying the team, Akiharu is doing okay-ish, and Sanae is a walking hazard. Predictably, Sanae wipes out and sends the entire dish flying onto her teammates, earning them a glorious 0 points. Daichi hits the showers afterward, traumatized, and Akiharu steps into the next stall. She panics. When he leans over to talk, she blasts him with scalding water and escapes like a ninja. Judo class is next. Daichi is done with life and uses Akiharu as her personal stress dummy, revealing she's a black belt. Shingo is off in the corner perving on girls instead of training, and Daichi gets distracted long enough for Akiharu to land a takedown. Unfortunately, his hands land somewhere questionable. Daichi detonates, and Akiharu's face ends up looking like he lost a fight with a blender. Later, the butlers run into Selnya, who shows off her ball gown. Sparkly, elegant, drill-compatible. Tomomi appears, notices a loose thread, and asks Akiharu to help. He pulls it, and the whole top half of Selnya's dress detaches right there in the hallway. Selnia goes full Super Saiyan rage. Meanwhile, Tomomi notices Daichi staring, totally mesmerized by the dresses, because she's never been allowed to wear anything like that. That night, Daichi sneaks into the costume room to admire the dresses again, and Akiharu finds her. He gently says, "It's okay, I understand." Daichi freezes, thinking he figured her out. But no, he continues, "You don't want to dress like a maid, me neither." Daichi's soul leaves her body. She wanders off crushed, while Akiharu remains oblivious, as always. Ball time. All the girls look amazing, and the principal is living her best life. Shingo, of course, is creeping again, dressed as a lion statue. Peak humiliation. Akiharu is forced into a Cupid outfit, somehow still not the worst thing he's worn. And then Daichi walks in, dressed as a maid, with padded chest and everything, and she looks good. Everyone's stunned. Akiharu tells her he always knew she'd look good in a maid uniform, and she turns bright red. Mitsuru also shows up in a maid outfit, and Toichiro immediately tries to flirt with him, thinking he's a girl, sending Mitsuru running for his life. That night, Daichi writes in her diary again, gazing at a photo of everyone dressed up. But the only thing she's really looking at is herself standing next to Akiharu. She blushes, finally realizing she might actually like this man-shaped disaster. She steps out of the shower, still thinking about it, when Akiharu barges in again, because door locks apparently don't exist at this school. He walks right past her naked chest and still doesn't notice a thing. Peak obliviousness. Peak anime. Before we continue, just a quick reminder to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, check out our second channel, Entangled Games, if you want to see video game content. Now, back to the video. We open on Princess Pina Sformclan Esto. Cosplaying a magical girl in the forest at night? Yeah, full frills, full wand, full moonlight. It's like Sailor Moon got lost on the way to rehearsal. She's posing on a tree branch when, of course, the branch snaps. Luckily, Akiharu walks in at that exact moment and catches her like he's auditioning for a shoujo manga. Pina immediately bolts, red-faced, leaving behind her giant magical hammer like Cinderella ditching her glass slipper, if the slipper weighed 40 kilos. Next morning in class, Pina suddenly remembers she left Excalibur Jr. out in the woods, and the panic hits hard. She rushes to the forest only to find tiny art gremlin Mimina quietly sketching under a tree. Before Pina can get answers, her name blares from the PA system. Principal's office time, never a good sign. When she arrives, she sees the teacher and Akiharu, and the hammer of shame sitting on the table like it's Exhibit A. Akiharu teases her for cosplaying a magical girl, and Pina turns the color of a tomato. Then he triggers the ultimate otaku landmine. Were you cosplaying some kind of anime show? And that's it. Pina goes full lore dump. World building, character arcs, production notes, everybody else mentally checks out. You can almost hear the Windows error sounds. In the hallway, Akiharu runs into Tomomi, who casually drops the news that Pina is, the first princess of the Sform Kingdom, a real European monarchy. The cold sweat hits Akiharu instantly, as he realizes teasing her could have gotten him publicly executed back home. Tomomi, being Tomomi, decides now is the perfect time to torment him. She tells him his comments might lead to diplomatic issues. Akiharu spirals into terror, while Tomomi enjoys herself like a cat watching a mouse panic. Back in the principal's office, we discover Pina actually has an otaku ally. Principal Kaede Tenjoji herself. Kaede whips out keyframes from Magical Diva, Pina's favorite anime, like it's no big deal. Oh, and she casually mentions she's one of the show's sponsors, because why not? Money solves everything. She tells Pina about a doujin event she attended last year, and suddenly Pina gets an idea so powerful it practically glows. She's going to make her own fan manga for this year's event. Kaede loves it and volunteers to help, as long as it's erotic. Mikan gives her a death glare so icy it could freeze lava, and Kaede immediately walks that back. Pina decides she'll get help elsewhere. Spoiler, she makes the worst possible choice. She asks Akiharu, and because he still thinks he's one insult away from starting an international incident, he agrees. In the cafeteria, Pina recruits Tomomi to handle finances because Akiharu threw her under the bus saying she was good with unsavory stuff. Tomomi smiles sweetly while reminding him he is absolutely doomed. They also snag Selnia as a model, because looking gorgeous is literally her whole brand. In a classroom, the whole team assembles to strategize. Saori, Sanai, Fo, everybody's getting dragged in. Later, Akiharu is hauling equipment to the meeting room, opens the door, and walks in on all the girls, changing into costumes. He takes the predictable beating, which is honestly becoming part of his cardio routine. Meanwhile, Pina tries to recruit Mimina as an artist, but Mimina refuses. She's got a competition piece to finish. Pina flat out says she won't accept anyone else. Selnia takes one look at the scandalous outfits required for the photoshoot and decides she's out. Cosplay is fine. Degeneracy is unbecoming of a lady. Later, Pina and Akiharu sit together talking about her kingdom. Turns out the Swarm Kingdom is basically fantasy Norway, icy, small economy, trying to grow their entertainment sector. That's why Pina wants to learn from Japan's anime industry and bring the magic home. Meanwhile, Akiharu is begging Selnia to come back to the group. She agrees, only after he swears he'll do absolutely anything she wants. Man sold his soul for cosplay. That night, Pina visits Mimina's room, but the girl doesn't answer. Pina slides a letter under the door, which includes the first 5 pages of the script. This princess does not take no for an answer. In class the next day, Akiharu shows the guys the manga materials, photos included. Daichi and Mitsuri can't believe how risque it all is. Shingo, on the other hand, is studying Selnia's pictures like he's prepping for finals. Mimina shows up and pulls Akiharu aside. She asks why Pina is so set on her drawing the manga. She confesses she actually wants to draw it. She loves Magical Diva too. Akiharu tells her she should do what she wants, and that's all the push she needs. She runs off to find Pina, only to learn the devastating twist. Pina never wanted her as the artist. She wanted her as the model for Magical Diva's heroine. Cut to the meeting room where Mimina is suffering the consequences, forced into poses and outfits she absolutely did not sign up for. Akiharu is stunned. Pina never clarified they were making a cosplay photo book instead of an actual manga. Tomomi notes that Selnia makes a perfect villainess, because, of course, she does. And finally, Akiharu snaps a group photo of all the ladies in costume, probably trying very hard to hide the fact that his heart rate is at dangerous levels. Selnia's posted up on the staircase like she owns gravity itself, waving her partner card at Akiharu like, "Accept this, you peasant." But my guy's on summer break mode and basically hits her with the anime version of, "Lol no." Unfortunately for him, Selnia remembers every promise ever made, and she hits him with the classic, "You said you'd do anything I wanted." And boom, Akiharu's trapped. The card is accepted. Summer break is over before it even starts. So what's the big task? A wholesome vacation? A relaxing retreat? Nope. He's got to go to Selnia's summer home for 2 nights and serve her. She is absolutely thrilled. He is absolutely dying inside. And the moment they arrive, she immediately puts him to work, making him haul her entire wardrobe across the property in the blazing sun. My man is basically a hydration PSA at this point. At the door, they're greeted by a whole squad of maids. The head maid takes one look at Akiharu and goes, "Oh, is this your boyfriend?" Selnia, trying to play it cool, says he's just a manservant. Naturally, the maids interpret this as, "Ah, yes, a forbidden romance." The collective gasp could have powered the house. And just when you think the scene has peaked, a helicopter lands on the front lawn. Because of course it does. Out steps Selnia's dad, the human embodiment of eccentricity, claiming he bailed on a conference just to see his daughter. He also immediately assumes Akiharu is the boyfriend and hugs him with the force of a man ready to plan a wedding. Selnia is seconds away from throwing Akiharu into maid boot camp when Akiharu casually drops the bomb. The school actually assigned this whole trip. Servants were supposed to observe how real household staff operate. So all of Selnia's evil plans? Vaporized. She is devastated. She still gives Akiharu the grand tour though, explaining the whole noble families must form powerful alliances thing. And honestly, for a moment, she sounds responsible, classy, like she's carrying 400 years of family pride on those drill-shaped twin tails. Akiharu even tells her she's more than just a pair of drills. It's the closest thing to a compliment he's ever given her. Meanwhile, at Tomomi's place, she and Daichi are, master and servant, but it looks suspiciously like a slumber party. They're flipping through old childhood pictures of Akiharu, every single one of them documenting Tomomi bullying him like it was an Olympic sport. And apparently, Daichi is only here because Tomomi blackmailed them. Tomomi stays winning. Back at Casa de Drill Hair, it's late-night chess. Akiharu's on a 5-game winning streak, and Selnia's ego is taking critical damage. The headmaid pops in and drops the line of the century. Your bed is ready. Singular. Because according to Selnia's father, all the extra rooms are being cleaned. By cleaned, he means strategically sabotaged so he can get grandkids. Every servant is ordered to retire early to give them privacy. This man is not subtle. Akiharu, meanwhile, has eaten a chocolate that seems off. Suspiciously off. Over at Tomomi's, we get the flashback. As a kid, Akiharu once ate chocolate spiked with alcohol and went feral, wrecking a whole room. Back in the present, adult Akiharu is starting to show the same symptoms. He goes full spicy mode, slurring out that Selnia is a booby monster, and she fires back with drunken deviant. Then, out of nowhere, he says he doesn't find Tomomi attractive at all, and that Selnia actually has a really pretty face. They topple to the floor, the mood is heating up, the camera would normally cut away to fireworks, but nope, he falls asleep. On her chest, instant lights out, peak romance. Next morning at breakfast is quiet, painfully quiet. Akiharu doesn't remember a thing. Selnia is furious, not about what happened, but that he forgot it. That's a new level of offended. Before she can explode, Tomomi and Daichi arrive and the squad heads to the beach. Tomomi immediately calls Akiharu out for staring at Selnia's bikini like he's trying to solve a physics problem. Then she apologizes to Selnia for interrupting her alone time with him. The fakest apology ever delivered. Daichi, still wearing full Butler gear because male swimwear is not happening today, immediately gets heat stroke. Tomomi starts grilling Akiharu on last night's events, and Selnia sees them talking, gets jealous, and walks into the ocean like she's starring in a dramatic breakup AMV. Unfortunately, she catches a cramp and starts drowning. Akiharu sprints in to save her, hauls her back to shore. Tomomi, always ready to escalate, insists he give CPR. The head maid has a camcorder out like she's filming a nature documentary. Akiharu leans in, and Selnia wakes up and slaps him so hard the ocean probably felt it. Later that evening on the veranda, the mood finally calms down. Selnia thanks him sincerely for saving her life, and as a reward for his courage, his loyalty, his service, she kisses him. And for once, neither of them says anything stupid. Tomomi is in full sad girl mode, staring off like she's waiting for rain in a drought. Ever since she saw Selnia and Akiharu kiss, she's been stewing so hard you could serve her as hot pot. Meanwhile, Selnia is having a meltdown sleepover at Fo's place, spiraling about that kiss like she accidentally committed a felony. Fo's probably just trying to enjoy her snacks, while Selnia is out here replaying the moment like it's a crime scene reconstruction. Back at school, during assembly, Shingo and Mitsuru slide up to Akiharu like two gossip aunties sniffing for drama. So, anything happen at Selnia's? Akiharu hits them with the deadpan no, but then they notice Selnia glaring at him with the intensity of a malfunctioning laser cannon. And yeah, nobody's buying his story. Selnia, on the other hand, is convinced Akiharu is about to run around telling everyone about their kiss, which she absolutely cannot allow. Mainly because she doesn't want Tomomi to find out which, yeah, bit late for that one. Outside, Selnia gears up to silence Akiharu, whatever that means coming from her. But she freezes when she spots him talking to Tomomi, and then she hears it. Tomomi straight up asking Akiharu on a date. A date! Akiharu reluctantly agrees, because apparently he autofolds to Tomomi's chaotic energy. And Selnia is in the bushes like a betrayed woodland creature, witnessing her entire world collapse. Later, outside the school, Tomomi pulls up dressed to destroy lives. She's gone full fashion boss mode, rocking the world's shortest skirt. Meanwhile, Akiharu is just like, cool, which is not the reaction she was going for. Still, they head out together, Tomomi strutting, Akiharu confused, And of course, Selnia follows behind them like a very angry, very blonde ninja. First stop, cafe time. Akiharu immediately asks the question everyone wants to know. What are you plotting this time? Tomomi claims innocence with the confidence of someone who absolutely is plotting something. Akiharu doesn't buy it, because this man has decades of Tomomi trauma. While they sip their drinks, Selnia tries to spy, but ends up spotted by Saori and Sanai. Not only do they recognize her, they also immediately see Akiharu and Tomomi on their date. Sanae starts waving at them like their long-lost family, and Selnia panics, dragging the sisters away before they blow her cover. The sisters are just having a great time. Next stop, the movie theater. Akiharu and Tomomi are watching a supposedly romantic movie about donuts. Donuts. Not sure if that's genius or cursed. Selnia sits a few rows back, glaring holes through their skulls. And right beside her are Saori and Sanai, again, casually stuffing snacks into their faces like it's a competitive sport. Then the movie hits a steamy scene, and Tomomi leans in like, "Wanna try that?" Akiharu looks at her like she just offered him free printer toner. Zero reaction. Man's immune. Years of Tomomi pranks have built up his resistance stat to max level. Meanwhile, Selnia is silently combusting. Eventually, she snaps at the sisters, causing all three of them to get booted from the theater. Probably for the best. Shopping time. Selnia tries to continue her spy mission, but Mimina and Pina catch her this time. She's losing stealth XP fast. Inside the shop, Tomomi sends Akiharu to wait outside the dressing room while she changes outfits. Selnia watches Akiharu holding a growing mountain of shopping bags and interprets this as him enjoying himself, because jealousy logic is undefeated. Karaoke is next. Tomomi is belting out songs like she's auditioning to become queen of the idol world, and Selnia is horrified at the idea of the two of them alone in a tiny room. It's pure emotional damage for her at this point. Then they hit the arcade, photo booth, crane games, the whole works. Tomomi drags Akiharu to a crane machine and demands a plushie. He keeps messing up, and Tomomi's patience is dropping faster than Selnia's sanity. But Akiharu finally snags the toy, saving the date and possibly his life. Meanwhile, Selnia is too busy going full DDR deity mode, absolutely shredding the dance machine, and by the time she looks up, the lovebirds are gone. Eventually, it's time to head home. Tomomi thanks Akiharu for spending the day with her. Akiharu still doesn't understand her angle, and when she mutters that she doesn't want to lose, he's like, "Lose to who?" This man is emotionally tone-deaf, in 4K resolution. As they walk, Tomomi starts reminiscing and teases him again about that childhood memory where she tricked him into saying he wanted to be a bride. She asks who he wanted to marry back then, expecting a joke, and Akiharu just calmly says it was her. Tomomi freezes for a split second, just long enough for her actual feelings to slip through, then keeps walking while blushing so hard she could power a small village. And that's the ride. Selnia is suffering, Tomomi's feelings are showing, and Akiharu is Akiharu. Perfect chaos. Daichi's just trying to have a peaceful lunch shift in the cafeteria. But of course, every girl within a 5-table radius is getting hit with accidental Daichi charm. And then boom, love letter. Addressed to Daichi. Left behind by some mystery admirer. Daichi's first ever love letter, and it's from a girl. Cue panic. Meanwhile, the school's gossip network is operating at maximum overdrive. Fo is whispering to Selnia about the whole Daichi got a love letter situation, casually dropping the word kiss. And Selnia freezes like someone unplugged her because, yeah, she did in fact kiss Akiharu over summer break. Tomomi sees this micro-glitch in Selnia's system and immediately swoops in for that classic Tomomi brand psychological warfare. The two trade their usual polite but definitely threatening jabs. Perfectly normal day at this school. Cut back to Daichi having a meltdown over the love letter. They're ranting to themselves like, "Really? My first love letter and it's from a girl?" Akiharu, Shingo, and Mitsuru overhear and are like, "Wait, run that back?" Shingo grabs the letter, reads the name, and is like, "Bro, this is from the popular girl, top tier, S-rank beauty." Daichi basically yanks the letter back like it's radioactive and storms off in embarrassment. Next, we see Selnia and Tomomi wandering the halls separately, both pretending they're absolutely not thinking about Akiharu, while very much thinking about Akiharu. They collide at the stairwell, exchange Arctic-level greetings, and refuse to move aside for each other like two cats claiming the same patch of sun. Jump to gym class. The boys are stretching, pretending they're athletes. When Daichi mentions they're just going to ignore the love letter, Akiharu is horrified, like morally offended. He insists you can't just ghost someone who poured their whole heart into confessing. Daichi says they have no idea how to turn a girl down, and the boys promise to help. Cut to an empty classroom where Shingo has declared himself a love expert. He starts giving Daichi tips on how to date a girl. Daichi's like, I'm trying to reject her, not marry her. So Mitsuru takes over with, start as friends, which, again, not helpful. Finally, it's Akiharu's turn, and his advice is basically survival tips for dealing with terrifying girls. Daichi snaps, screams at the whole panel of self-appointed love gurus, and storms out. Valid. Now, Daichi's sitting alone on a bench, spiraling. They convince themselves that if the admirer knew Daichi was actually a girl, the crush would disappear in an instant. Daichi starts to crumple up the letter, but remembers what Akiharu said about respecting someone's feelings. Speak of the devil. Akiharu shows up to apologize on behalf of the boys. Tomomi's hidden behind a corner listening in, and Selnia's spying from the bushes like a blonde ninja. Akiharu gently tells Daichi the only real answer is to just be honest with the admirer. After school, Daichi meets the girl who wrote the letter. Meanwhile, the boys are hiding behind a wall. Daichi politely rejects her, saying they can't reveal the reason. The girl tears up and asks, "Do you like someone else?" Daichi's about to say no when, bam, Akiharu's face hits their brain like a brick through a window. And Daichi just blurts, "I like Akiharu?" The girl, thinking Daichi is a guy confessing he likes another guy, is like, "Oh, well, I didn't stand a chance anyway." She walks off, crushed but accepting. Daichi's left there, realizing they apparently have feelings for Akiharu. The boys come out of hiding to congratulate Daichi for handling things so cleanly. Daichi, in full denial, decides these confusing feelings must be friendship. Sure, totally. Meanwhile, Selnia and Tomomi are replaying Akiharu's advice in their heads about being honest with your feelings. They both decide it's time to, finally, do something. They meet in the courtyard, dramatically admitting they both know exactly what needs to happen. And right then, Akiharu walks in. Cliffhanger. Akiharu's chilling in the cafeteria while the rich girls avoid him like he's contagious. Then out of nowhere, Pina drops in, all sparkles and royalty, probably feeling bad that our boy is one miso soup away from social exile. Akiharu asks how she's doing, and Pina casually admits her new hobby is teasing Mimina. Zero shame. Then she hands him 2 tickets to a water park as thanks for helping her earlier. Suddenly, Akiharu's day is way better. Cut to early evening. Akiharu's strolling through the courtyard, thinking about who to invite. And by thinking, I mean he's stressing like he's choosing a life partner instead of a water slide buddy. That's when he walks right into Selnia and Tomomi having a death glare showdown. Like, lasers out of the eyes levels. He's completely clueless as usual, wondering if he just wandered into a boss battle. The 2 queens relocate to a classroom for their dramatic showdown, leaving Akiharu outside like an abandoned puppy. Inside, Selnia immediately goes full interrogation mode, demanding to know what she and Akiharu were doing on their date. Tomomi plays it cool, saying it was nothing and they're just childhood friends. Selnia fires back that it looked pretty intimate, and Tomomi instantly hits her with, "Oh? And how exactly do you know what happened?" Boom. First bust. Then Tomomi goes in for the finishing blow. Why would Selnia care about Tomomi dating a mere commoner? Unless it's the same commoner she kissed. Double bust. Selnia's armor breaks. The music would stop if this were a drama. Right as things get spicy, Akiharu walks in, holding the water park tickets like a clueless catalyst. Tomomi immediately notices and asks where they came from. He tells her Pina gave them to him, and he's trying to figure out who to take. He tries to leave. Keyword tries, but Tomomi yoinks him back, demanding a ticket. Selnia jumps in, wanting one too. Both girls lock in. No retreat. No surrender. Then the principal hops on the PA, announcing a sports festival in 3 days. Perfect timing, honestly. Next stop, the principal's office. Tomomi and Selnia basically barge in, requesting to be put on separate teams. Why? because they're going to settle this water park war with a full-on school-wide athletic showdown. The principal doesn't even blink. She's probably thrilled someone's finally taking her Chaos Fest seriously. Rumors start spreading instantly, like wildfire. First someone says there's a prize, then a big prize. Then Sane tells Daichi the winner gets Akiharu as their servant, which annoys Akiharu, but honestly, could have been worse. At least no one said marriage, yet. Sports Festival Day. Tomomi and Selnia are already taunting each other like rival pro wrestlers. Selnia and Akiharu end up on the same team, and she warns him not to sabotage them on purpose. And Tomomi's stacked her own team with Aish, Hediya, and Daichi. Meanwhile, the principal's doing commentary with Pina, which guarantees zero accuracy and maximum entertainment. First event, the obstacle course. Fo is blazing through it like she trained for American Ninja Warrior. Saori, on the other hand, enters fully clothed and instantly begins losing layers like it's a reverse fashion show. No one is surprised. Next up, the beanbag toss. Except Hediya decides beanbags are too gentle and starts throwing actual cannonballs at Akiharu. He asks if she's trying to kill him. She calmly replies, "Yes, I am." Honestly, respect the honesty. Then we get a montage of the principal's cursed events. A relay race where the baton is a slippery eel. Tightrope walking like this is suddenly a circus. A bread eating contest where the bread is very much not bread, it's frankfurters. And of course, a tug of war where everyone and the rope are greased up, because dignity clearly took the day off. More chaos. The item borrowing race, where contestants pull random items from envelopes and have to beg the audience for them. Always a recipe for public humiliation. And then the three-legged race with Akiharu and Sane tied together. Those two attached at the ankle? Disaster was guaranteed before they even lined up. Lunch break rolls around and Tomomi's needling Selnia again. Akiharu, being the king of obliviousness, asks Selnia why the ticket is such a big deal. This only makes her angrier, because the boy still hasn't realized they are literally competing over him. She swears she's not losing to Tomomi today. Right before the 100-meter dash, Akiharu checks in with Tomomi and asks why she's unusually fired up. She gives him the most serious look she's had all episode and says she absolutely cannot lose this time. And that's where everything's set. Pride on the line, rivalry at max power, and a humble water park ticket fueling an entire school sports festival. So, we basically assume Tomomi won the race, even though the anime never actually confirms it. Classic move. Anyway, Selnia is off to the side, completely wiped out, catching her breath in the shade like a noble who just discovered cardio. Akiharu comes over to comfort her and, in true Akiharu fashion, immediately puts his foot in his mouth by saying she probably would have won if her drill curls weren't so heavy. Smooth, bro, real smooth. Surprisingly, Selnia doesn't explode. Instead, she actually opens up a bit. She tells Akiharu that her whole life she's been the top student, the perfect lady, the one everyone admired. That is, until Tomomi showed up. Ever since then, Tomomi has been constantly stealing her spotlight, getting in her way, and refusing to stay in second place where Selnia thinks she belongs. So for Selnia, losing to Tomomi just isn't an option. This is personal now. Akiharu later tracks down Tomomi and asks the most Akiharu question ever. Why are you two this competitive? Tomomi explains that unlike Selnia, she had to work insanely hard to get where she is. Meanwhile, Selnia is basically walking, talking natural talent. To Tomomi, Selnia represents perfection itself. And that's exactly why Tomomi wants to beat her. It's not hate, it's respect. The ultimate, I acknowledge you as my rival, anime logic. Tomomi also makes it very clear that she absolutely cannot lose this time. Meanwhile, Akiharu is still completely clueless that both of their insane motivation levels are, because of him. Now it's time for the final event, the cavalry battle. Selnia is fired up and ready to dominate, but Akiharu takes one look at their team and immediately realizes they are in serious trouble. And the moment the battle starts, chaos breaks out. More than half the teams are eliminated almost instantly because it turns out that prim, elegant ladies are not built for getting trampled in a full contact event. Who could have guessed? Toichiro shows up, dramatically declares he wants an honorable duel with Akiharu, and then immediately eliminates himself thanks to his own stupidity. An absolute legend. Meanwhile, we get a bunch of mini battles where Selnia goes up against Fo and Saori, and to no one's surprise, she absolutely handles them, drill curls and all. Then it's time for the final showdown. Selnia and Tomomi lock eyes, the tension is real, and Tomomi immediately fires off a low blow by saying she feels sorry for Akiharu for having to carry someone as heavy as Selnia. Akiharu doesn't even deny it, he just says it's because of the drills, which somehow makes it worse. Tomomi, with Daichi's help, launches their attack. Akiharu's team starts stumbling all over the place, and Akiharu ends up face to face with Daichi in a very awkward moment. Everyone loses their balance. Things go flying, and in peak rom-com nonsense, Akiharu ends up carrying Selnia princess style. During all this chaos, Selnia manages to snag Tomomi's ribbon without anyone noticing. Game over. Selnia wins. Later on, in the bathhouse, Selnia is quietly spiraling, wondering if she really is heavy. Tomomi comes in and sits next to her, casually admitting that she lost fair and square. No excuses this time. But she also makes it clear that she's not planning to lose again. Selnia agrees. And just like that, their rivalry is officially alive and well. After school, both girls stand in front of Akiharu, waiting. He hands the water park ticket to Selnia, which seems fair. But then, in what can only be described as a galaxy brain move, he hands the other ticket to Tomomi. Akiharu proudly explains that he figured they both really wanted to go if they were willing to fight that hard for it. Yes, that is genuinely his reasoning. As you'd expect, this goes over like a lead balloon. The rest of the cast shows up to call him out for being completely insensitive, though Sanae doesn't really understand what he did wrong. Akiharu meanwhile remains blissfully unaware that the girls wanted the tickets to go with him. Real, dense harem protagonist energy. Selnia and Tomomi exchange a look, reach an unspoken agreement, and deliver one final, perfectly synchronized slap to Akiharu. And just like that, the series ends exactly how it began. Akiharu getting smacked for being an idiot. Some things never change. And that wraps up Ladies vs. Butlers, where rich girls, butlers in training, and way too many awkward situations collide. If you enjoyed the chaos, the fan service, or just laughing at how wild this academy is, hit that like button and subscribe for more anime recaps just like this one. Drop a comment below and tell me, would you survive at this school, or would you get expelled on day one? Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll catch you in the next anime recap.